Paul and I are standing in front of a substantial building, right? You can see it's a bank, of course. Now, what does that mean to us as firefighters? It means that it's going to be a tougher building to deal with in terms of particularly forcible entry, getting inside.
Welcome to Fire Engineering's Training Minutes. My name is Paul Dansbach. I'm the Fire Marshal in Rutherford, New Jersey.
And I'm Corbett, Technical Editor of Fire Engineering Magazine. Paul and I are standing in front of a substantial building, right? You can see it's a bank, of course. Banks are symbols of strength, symbols of stability, all those kind of things. Now, what does that mean to us as firefighters? It means that it's going to be a tougher building to deal with in terms of particularly forcible entry, getting inside. Of course, the fuel load is probably somewhat minimal in the building, but again, we trade that off for issues of accessing the building. What type of construction is this? We could probably assess this as type 1 fire resistive. So the amount of wood in this building is somewhat minimal. But it's going to be an issue of, again, getting into the building, and of course another issue, of course, is not getting trapped inside the building in some door closing behind you that might lock, not unlike a jail. So these are buildings that, again, do require a walkthrough ahead of time to understand where these doors are inside the building, how to access the basement, how to access other areas of the building that are perhaps on an upper floor that we can't see right here. Ventilation also is going to be an issue for us too. There's not a ton of windows in this building. So there's a lot to consider really when you're dealing with a bank structure like this one.
When we look at the windows on the B and D sides of this building, the building appears to be a two-story building. As Glenn mentioned, financial institutions constructed buildings to provide a symbol of their financial strength. A unique construction feature of this building is the height of the first story. The height of the first story in this building is actually 2 stories high. What that means to firefighting crews is access to the space above the ceiling. Crews with typical hooks and pike poles are not going to be able to pull that ceiling and provide access to any fire in the space or in the cockloft.
And so when we're talking about interior firefighting here, you know, we got to think about these high, tall spaces to get access to them. I mean, there's situations, some buildings, even a 12-foot hook won't work for you. The other issue, though, is that, again, if you do a walkthrough during a pre-plan, understand what is in those spaces, perhaps understand what the fuel load is there, what do we have to deal with. It might, in some cases, be more easily dealt with by just using a hydraulic removal of those tiles and removal of that ceiling with your hose stream instead of trying to pull it manually, because, again, due to the height.
As Glenn mentioned, this building is probably significantly secured from the exterior, which is sometimes a common feature in buildings in the urban environment. Arriving companies need to soften the building by opening exterior doors and windows to allow an escape path for interior crews should the need arise to evacuate the building.
And so when you pre-plan the building, it's as you do every other building you pre-plan, you want to get the type of construction, the square footage, where are the doors, where are the windows, where are the stairs, whether fire protection features may be in this building. Does it have a sprinkler system or does it? Is it a partial sprinkler system? Unlikely this one would have a standpipe in it. It's possible. But also, what about the actual materials being used here, right? There are banks, of course, modern banks that are type 2 construction, lightweight effectively. This is an older one, so we expect to have some more oomph, some more meat in this building in terms of its structural stability during a fire. But again, the only way you're going to know that is going inside, doing your pre-plan, walking through the building, making your notes, meeting with the bank management here to explain what you're trying to do, and again, put it on paper and train over it. This is, again, another great opportunity once you have your material put together to actually walk through it visually in a PowerPoint presentation or something else at the firehouse.
Thank you for watching this segment of Fire Engineering's Training Minutes.